don't speak Spanish, but from what I was told, Lou got arrested for fraud. All right, now you might be like, oh, I know about that. Come on. How could you trust this guy? How could you trust this guy? Besides the fact that he got arrested for fraud, the guy doesn't even show he's an ape. He doesn't even show you his portfolio. He wants to take 54,000 people from YouTube to his own private website. And what is he going to do? What's he going to massage you? What's he going to do? He's going to caress you. He's going to kiss you. He's probably going to commit fraud again. What's a fraudster? A fraudster always a fraudster. You know you guys are all nuts. You're breaking my balls. You're breaking my diamond balls. You're breaking my diamond balls. And you're following a guy that's been arrested for fraud.
I think it's pretty safe to assume that when this short squeeze is over, there'll be a lot of people who will be remembered for whatever reason, whether it be good or bad. But if that's not an instant classic for the YouTube community and something that has NFT written all over it, I don't know what does.
Cue the speeder.
Hey, you just said that on camera. This going viral.
Ape Nation, thank you for helping me pass 200 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed yet, hopefully I can earn it today. Good evening, guys. It is Saturday, August 7th, 2021. Do you know how many times I have to look down at this card to remember the date? And it wasn't the sun today from working. It's every morning I have to look down because I can't remember the date. I write it right on the top of the stupid card, what the date is, and the day, and the year, all of it. And I never can remember when this camera turns on. All right. So I want to talk to you guys about something. I'm still working on this video about what we talked about yesterday, finishing up this paperwork. But I think there's really something important we need to talk about because I'm seeing it all over the place in the last couple of days about these FTDs and the 35 plus. And I think it's important that we get down to the facts of what actually do they have to cover. Besides that, the earnings report is coming out and the shareholders meeting and the count and everything else, there's a lot of things that are going to go on that are going to play with people's emotions. And that's what they love to attack. They love to come right at the emotional part of every one of us. And we're all humans, so we all have different reactions to everything. So I think it's good that we discuss and get a clear picture on exactly what could happen next week, especially with the FTDs and the earnings report between Monday and Tuesday. All right, so because I can't explain this any better than Charlie did, I'm just going to play a little clip from what Charlie said because I thought he did a great job of explaining it and clearing up some of the uncertainty that you might have when we get to day 35, which starts this week. Well, don't let me talk anymore. Roll the film.
Okay, next, failures to deliver, or as the Spanish say, failures to deliverito. So AMC is a stock that has a substantial number of failures to deliver. And Rule 204 of SEC short selling regulations states that firms have up to 35 calendar days following a trade date to close out failures to deliver. And with that deadline around the corner for a massive amount of failures to deliver, well, you may be asking, hey, a lot of buy orders are about to come in. Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. But backing up for a second, when you're a hedge fund and you want to go and sell a stock, you have to find a borrow in order to borrow a share to dump onto the market. Borrows cost money, they're hard to come by, and there's a limited supply of them, which means that organically you don't have just unlimited shares that you can short onto the market. However, the regulation is such that you get 2 days to prove that you actually found a borrow to short sell, but you get to short sell immediately nonetheless. But again, because hedge funds have 2 days to show that they borrowed a stock, that means they have basically basically reasonably unlimited firepower for those 2 days. So if they want to do a short attack on a stock that just started rallying massively, they can go and screw with the supply and demand by dumping a ton of shares onto that stock, inducing panic selling in a lot of retail traders and in a lot of institutional funds that have algorithmic risk protocols to sell out during massive sell orders. And depending on how powerful the fund is, they could really induce a lot of damage by doing this. Current SEC regulation, Rule 204, paints the closeout requirements in very specific language. It requires brokers and dealers that are participants of a registered clearing agency to take action to close out failure to deliver positions. And this is the important part. Closing out requires the broker or dealer to purchase or borrow securities of like kind and quantity. Okay, again, emphasis on the purchase or borrow security parts. Those are the two ways that a failure to deliver short seller can fix this problem and close out their failure to deliver. So think about the borrow part. Say you got caught borrowing a share that didn't exist and you didn't have the right to borrow, and the SEC says, okay, well, we caught you, and the way that you can get out of this is by going and borrowing another share. You fake borrowed the first, and they're like, hey, you can get out of this by borrowing another one. We trust you this time, you know. None of that fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me type of thing. But think about what this really means. What does this really do? You're deferring that same position. Imagine for a second. Keep in mind that their goal isn't to fail to deliver. The only time they really fail to deliver is when a crisis comes. Like, for example, the stock price goes up to a crazy amount. It's at those times they can't find borrows and they can't find shares to buy. So they get put between a rock and a hard place. And they have no choice but to fail to deliver. But when they screw up royally and fail to deliver, what happens? Well, they can just keep rolling it over. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a step back for a second and envision a really stupid scenario, just hypothetical scenario, where for whatever reason, you, a hedge fund who short sold something, is also given the ability to fulfill orders to buy that something. You hold the liquidity pool, you have no transparency in how you're fulfilling the orders. Well, in that situation, without some massive spikes in demand for that stock, how hard would it be to use that liquidity to finagle your way into repackaging, reselling, and basically deferring your inevitable short position? You do have to get out of your short position and you're paying margin fees, but hey, the margin fees are a lot cheaper than trying to buy in during a moise. So you're like, okay, well, I'll just wait and I'll repackage and I'll repackage and I'll defer and I'll manipulate and I'll defer, I'll distort, and eventually retail will walk away and I'll be golden. I would have paid some margin fees. I would have waited for a while. It was kind of a stupid play, but at the end of the day, they walked away and I feel good about myself. And that's exactly what we've seen happening. And because there hasn't been that same buying pressure, they haven't really been put in that hot of water like we saw a few months ago. Now, again, I understand that a lot of people are like, Charlie, there's a lot of buying pressure that's taking place in the dark pools. But the buying pressure that would have forced them to move up that time scale a lot faster isn't there anymore. So they're now able to play the defer game. It's sort of like when powerful corporations get caught doing something and they're in the wrong. And instead of actually going through and settling with the case, they just tie it up for years until the individuals who are suing them give up. And in a way, it's like, hey, that's kind of what's happening here. They're deferring it until people give up and go home. So very interesting situation that we're in right now. And it'll be interesting to see if we get another one of those retail rallies. Yes. Based on the cultural trend that I've seen, I would not be surprised to see that. But hey, anything is possible, and this is an active battleground. So I would treat it as such. Okay.
I think those are all great points that Charlie made. And something you really got to think about, especially this week coming up. Because everybody on YouTube, I mean, just go down the list. It's the same people talking about these FTDs over the last 5 days and how they're going to need to cover these FTDs. But Charlie's breakdown makes complete sense. They really don't have to cover them 35 plus, right? And Wes Christian has talked about this before. And he has said there are many ways that they get rid of those FTDs without actually having to cover them. So the reason why I wanted to make this video was to just give you guys a heads up. Be aware of the fact that they do not have to come in next week and start buying back those 25 million or however many FTDs they racked up when we went on our run. There's many ways that they have used in the past to cover those FTDs without actually affecting the price on the actual stock market line, which is the only one that concerns me because it's the only one I can sell or buy my shares at. And the fact that they have complete control over that right now puts us in a very tough position. Another thing I want to bring up is, guys, be really careful. Of course, this isn't financial advice, but be extremely careful with trying to day trade this thing. Monday, we have the earnings call coming up. I believe that's going to be out after the bell closes on Monday. And we're probably going to see really good numbers, right? They're going to be way better than Q1 or probably any one of the 4 quarters from 2020. Now, here's the thing that I've noticed, and maybe you guys noticed this too. A lot of companies that are quote-unquote meme stocks, like Neo and Palantir, Apple, Tesla, before their earnings, they kind of had a little bit of a run-up. Then they beat their earnings, and the stock fell off a cliff. We didn't really see that with AMC, but earnings are supposed to be good. And like I said it last week, I think this will be the best earnings that we've seen. Will that have an effect on the price? I tell you what, if I was a hedge fund, what I would do is, as soon as everyone was all hyped up because of the share count and the earnings call, I would short attack the hell out of this thing and just take everyone and demoralize them and make them say, oh my God, I mean, what do we have to do? Like, what do we have to do to get the damn price to go where it should be going? So I just want you guys to just keep that in the back of your mind for next week. And I will do a video tomorrow talking about the things that I promised to talk about tonight. But as I was at work today and I was listening to some other videos, I just noticed there's a ton of people talking about this 35 plus days on the FTDs. And I don't think anyone can explain it better than Charlie did. I've been watching him a long time, and I respect his opinion. And he broke it down better than anyone else that I could hear. And he's not getting people pumped up for no reason. He's saying, you know, legitly, not to be concerned, but be aware that there are ways around this. It's pretty clear that these guys hate us because they ain't us. And it's pretty clear that they are in this fight to the end. And it's pretty clear that so are we. And we continue to fight. We buy and hold. And until they cover those short positions, as far as I can see, we're still in the driver's seat because it's not costing me anything to hold. But every day that goes by, it costs them a little more and a little more. And at some point, somebody's going to say, enough is enough, guys. We need you guys to close out those shorts. And when that time comes, we will collect. All right, that's all I've got for tonight. I'll be back tomorrow with another video. Thank you guys for all your support. If you want to like and subscribe to the channel, you know the drill. This is Ape Nation. I'm the Master Lorian, and I'm out.